All right, our guest is real estate agent and CEO of Homes by Tasha, Tasha Greene Coleman. Welcome, Tasha. Welcome to the show.
Hey,
How how's it
everybody.
going? How's it going? Welcome.
Oh my gosh, it's going well. I'm excited to be here with all of you
You
guys.
got all that bling going on. Look at that bling. That's what I'm talking about. All right.
Listings, $1 million listings, $1 million listings.
All right, let me
Mhm.
introduce you to Tasha. Tasha Greene Coleman is the founder and CEO of Tasha Homes by Tasha. She's a Washington, D.C. native and has been a real estate agent professional for the past 15 years with a degree in business administration from University of Maryland Eastern Shore. She's a former real estate coach. She serves on the Agent Leadership Council of her office consistently on the one of the top producers of her region. She was featured as a boss mom just this past year in Real Producers magazine and was the #1 agent out of over 5,000 agents in the region. And when
Mhm.
Tasha is not serving clients, you'll find her with her husband, four beautiful daughters, and two kitties. No, Lizzie will
Aw.
like that. Uh,
Aw.
because of her journey with her 12-year-old daughter, a 7-year childhood cancer survivor, Tasha is
Wow.
now a proud volunteer wish granter for the Mid Atlantic region of the Make a Wish Foundation and an
Very
avid donor and activist for childhood cancer
good.
research. Tasha Coleman,
Very nice.
thank you. We thank you for joining us.
Well,
Absolutely. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, so my first question to you, ask everyone. Tell me, well, you can tell me more about yourself, but tell me just something that we can't go on Google right now and just find out about you. Tell me
Oh
something.
my gosh. Ooh, that's always a fun question. You know, something you can't find out on Google about me. I love to well, you may be able to find this on Instagram. My happy place is being somewhere in the Caribbean or just somewhere near a beach. If it were up to me, that's where I'd be right
You
now.
and me
So I
both.
aspire to like travel honestly every month or every other month if I could. And one other like weird fact about me, people in my office kind of know this, but to give myself energy or whenever life gets a little bit crazy, I just do a little shimmy and it just brings me back to
There
I
you
don't know, just
go. Nice.
life.
I
I've
love
been
it.
known to just shimmy around the office and just make everybody laugh. It just it gives me energy and it takes the heaviness off of life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I like
So
that.
I just want to tell
Way
everyone.
to start
So,
doing
full disclosure, Tasha Greene Coleman is my real estate agent. She helped me working with my grandmother's estate, getting a house sold. Man, and I have to tell you, this is one of the hardest working real estate agents I have ever seen in my life because to tell you that we didn't have a very difficult situation. It was a very, very difficult situation. And man,
You should have asked me first about having him as a client. You should
3 years
have
we've been working on this,
that.
and Tasha's
Hey,
been
Liz,
right there.
I would have
yeah.
given you
I am not
four,
that bad.
one, four, one, one. Trust me, would have given it to you.
But yeah, and she's
So
very knowledgeable.
right.
She knows a lot. So I thank you for that. But I just want to let everyone know that she's extremely well qualified.
Yep.
um, but so let me ask you my first question, Tasha. What I'd like to know, right now we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and I know last year was a really tough year. Um, and the market, I don't know what the market's done, but I know it had to have been different than anything else you've dealt with. So tell us what it's like in the market now, dealing with COVID. Even some of the restrictions that you've had to deal with.
Okay. Before I tell you how the market is now, I'll tell you a little bit of how it was this exact time last year, right?
Okay.
So last year, April of 2020, it was a little tough, right? We weren't sure if we were gonna be able to even continue to work. So, and then we're out here. Once we got the clearance and we're considered essential, we're out here with people that actually need to buy and sell. And there's a mysterious virus out here. So, what I'll say is as an industry, real estate agents, we did a really great job just kind of shifting. So what that looked like last year was a lot of our meetings went to virtual. So instead of meeting buyers and sellers for the first time face to face, we were hopping on Zoom like everybody else, right? Instead, we had some clients that decided to pause their search out of fear, and we completely respected that. But for the most part, guys, I would say out of all the clients I was working with pre-pandemic, everybody, like, there was only one person that decided not to move forward with her plans because she was, I think she was like 70-ish years old. But for the most part, my clients were like, I still got to move. Let's just find a different way to do this. So what we did was we leaned more on things like virtual floor plans, Matterport tours where you kind of, it looks like a dollhouse.
Oh, nice.
You can rotate
Mhm.
the views. We just shifted the way we showed homes. So we even to this day, we're mostly social distancing,
Okay.
which makes it a little more challenging, to schedule and view homes. But for the most part, we just relied on, a lot of virtual tools and, mask, gloves, and, just a lot of extra safety protocols. Now, I'll get to the shenanigans.
Let's hear some shenanigans. I love shenanigans.
The shenanigans is the current market. I was telling Neo earlier, if there's a real estate agent in your world, check on that agent. We're absolutely not okay. We're in one of the strongest seller markets I've seen in 15 years. And what that looks like, I've had probably 5 cases of submitting offers for my buyers here in the area, and they were competing against 30 and 40 other buyers.
Wow.
Ooh.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's what the market's looking like. As a matter of fact, to give you a little more context, remember back in 2020 when it was really difficult to find toilet tissue? Remember that?
Yes, of course. Hard to
Around this
forget.
time.
So that's what it's like buying a house right now.
Wow. So it's hard to find houses. So the
Wow.
inventory is that low.
Yeah, the
So I have a
inventory is low.
follow-up on that.
Yeah, yeah.
So is it that people are looking to get out of their apartments and just have more space, given that we're in the midst of a pandemic and we have a lot of these restrictions?
So that's actually a key part of it. So the inventory is still fairly low, and it's been that way for years pre-pandemic. There's a good number of buyers. Interest rates are still really, really great and low, right? And then I'll tell you, one of the big ahas that most people had, and I'm sure somebody in here can relate, the house that you thought was sufficient, when you had to be locked in your house day in and day out
Oh,
with
you realize
Yeah.
three, four,
quick.
5 other people and animals,
Yeah.
you realize what the home I
You need a
thought
bigger
was
house.
home, it just doesn't work anymore. Like I know at one point, my our cats were looking at us like, "What the hell? Like why are y'all still here? Nobody's leaving." Um, so we're seeing, like I know personally, I got calls from clients that were in their home 3, 4 years, and they say, you know what, we thought this house worked. But now that we have 3 kids here virtual schooling, now that I have to be with my spouse all day, every day, something's got to give. We have to get more space. So yeah, that's honestly a big part of it. The house that worked, then just doesn't work now.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Fair.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Lizzie.
I am a renter. I've been renting. I've only been back in DC for 2 years. And when I moved from New York, I'd been in New York for 21 years. When I moved back down, the best option for me at that time, because I moved like within a split second. I kept saying, you know what, you're in DC every month, at least twice a month, just move. And this particular building, it's a new building, great incentives to move in. Just go down there and, find something to buy the year after. Stay there for a year, find something to buy a year after. And then pandemic hit.
Mm.
And then actually before the pandemic hit, when I came down, I had issues with my new job down here that wasn't paying me for 9 weeks. And so that set me back and took a lot
Worse.
of my savings for my very expensive apartment. And so now I'm back to trying to replenish my savings and get myself back into a position when I can buy. And so,
Mhm.
what is your to someone who is kind of starting over and is low on cash for the moment? Like, what are the options for those of us who still want to buy, but it's not as, our bank accounts aren't as lucrative as they were even 2 years ago?
That's a
Like,
great
when I
question.
moved down years ago, I was fine, no debt, credit score, shopping all day, every day. And now had a lot of disposable income. And now it's just like, okay, I have to catch up to myself so I can get back into a position. So, what are the options for someone like myself who
And I
is
know
still
the
looking?
rents down there in the waterfront. They're
Yeah, I
expensive. I
mean,
mean, I know
listen,
she can afford a house with the rents she's paying.
It's gotta be high, yeah. And honestly,
Go
to
ahead,
be
man.
able to afford a house, you have to have a down payment for a house. And again, I had to use a lot of my savings to pay for income that I
You
wasn't
feel like you're
getting.
stuck.
So I feel like I'm stuck. Like, yeah, I can afford to live in my apartment right now. But and listen, I look for houses every day. I'm on Redfin, Realtor.com every single day. But I'm just like, it's that initial down payment. And I would be a first time buyer. So, what would be your advice to someone like me? And I typically don't necessarily want a standalone single family home, even though I grew up in a single family home. I'm kind of used to having a concierge, an elevator, amenities. So I would most likely want a condo, a nice
oh,
condo, spacious condo. So, what would your advice be to someone like me who is kind of like, okay, I need to start over, but I want to do this?
All right, let's hear what she has.
okay. The first thing I'll say is a common myth is that you need a lot of money in terms of an actual down payment, right? Like there was a point where 20% down was like that was the
Standard.
standard.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's no longer the case. It's not even 10%. In a lot of cases, home buyers are buying homes with 3% and 3.5% down, right? What I'll tell you before we entered the market that we were in, I would say, as a first time buyer, don't worry about not having funds for down payment. There are programs where you can borrow the down payment. Usually it's like a silent second or 0% interest to borrow that money. There's a trade off with a slightly higher interest rate, but even then, it was a great option. What I'll tell you now, in general, the way the market is right now, sellers are getting on average throughout the DC metro area 101% of what they're asking for in sales price. As a matter of fact,
101%.
and 101%, that's on average. When we zero into places like Falls Church in Northern Virginia, Prince George's in Montgomery, it's 104% for Northern Virginia and 102% for Prince George's in Montgomery. What has changed with this particular market? Because you're typically competing against more buyers than usual, we're seeing the prices really escalate. And unlike what happened back in like 2005, 2006, um, the market's just changing. The market's looking a little bit different. So when the appraisals aren't happening or the appraisals aren't in line, the buyers are actually bringing additional money and waiving appraisals. So you're no longer in this market realistically. And I'm having these tough conversations with my buyers. You're no longer a favorable buyer competing against 20, 30, sometimes 40 other people if you need down payment assistance, right? Or closing cost assistance, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Mhm.
quite frankly, what we're telling buyers, and we don't make the market, we just interpret it, right? Let's just
This
say
is a
you're
tough
looking at a
market for Live V
400,
right now.
yeah, if you're looking for a $400,000 property, we're telling our buyers you probably need to look in the range of three. Like if that's your price range, you really want to be looking at 350 to maybe 375 at the max
Mm.
because
Mhm.
buyers honestly they're paying more for properties, and in a lot of cases we're seeing people waive inspections altogether again. We're seeing people waive appraisals. I'll tell you, I saw an instance this week where the appraisal came in. It's a $19,000 gap between the sales price and the appraisal. And guess what? The buyer said, I want this house. She's paying an extra 20 grand to get into the property.
Wow.
However, Lizzie, one beautiful thing that is happen that I can say for you, all of the markets, like that's the market in general. What I am seeing is a slight balancing out of the condo market in DC. So there's a little more opportunity in the condo market, specifically in DC. So um, there's significantly less competition for buying a condo in Washington D.C. versus a row home in D.C. or a single family or townhome in Montgomery County, Howard, Prince George's, or anywhere else. Yeah,
And DC is the operative word because I born and raised here. I I think 99% of my being will stay in DC for the rest of my life. I am not interested in moving to Maryland, to Virginia. I'm a DC
What's
girl.
wrong with Maryland?
Um,
Maryland's wonderful, especially the suburbs.
that's free.
I love Maryland.
That's nobody asked you though. You have a house. That's we're talking about me. And so also I'm single and not going to be not single anytime soon. So I don't want the responsibility of taking care of a house. Yeah, growing up in a house, I had a father and two brothers in the home. It's just me and my cat. And I don't want the responsibility of taking care of all of the household nicks and knacks. So the best option for me would be a nice condo similar to what I have right now. And so I feel like there's a lot of pressure, I think. And Gianna, you might see this as you get older, but there's a lot of pressure from your friends and your peers. If you are a renter, oh,
yeah,
well, why haven't you bought anything yet? Oh,
Yeah.
you need to wasting money. And I'm like, you need to not be in my pocket. I'm doing what's best for me, and most
Yeah.
comfortable for me right now. And do I want to
Mhm.
rent forever? Absolutely not. But I appreciate, as a realtor that you are making me think about some things that I really didn't
Mhm.
think about before. Especially, for it being a buyer's market or
Well, it's a
some of the
seller's
advantage
market.
or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But thinking about, what is I have because I do always think now about the down payment. That's the first
Mhm.
thing that comes to
Yeah.
down payment. Okay, so I need. This property costs like $695, so I need carry the one. Okay, yeah, I don't
All
much.
right. Before I get to the
Well,
rest of
that's
my
my
other two.
advice to you. Just continue to save money. And guess what? Sometimes you have to, think outside the box. You are able to use like a TSP or 401k, borrow against your 401k, if that's what you choose to do, right? And again, like it's 3% versus what most people think at 20%. And, there's nothing wrong with renting if that's the right situation for you. But definitely just kind of keep that in mind. Home ownership is it's I mean it's a beautiful thing. It's wealth building.
All right. Before I get to my other hosts, so I'm going to the comments online. So Mike Winter said, "Bam, ain't nobody moving to the burbs, Nia."
It's rude, but everyone wants to move to the suburbs, and
It's
for
true.
those
It's
of you
true.
who move to the suburbs, good for you. I'm a city girl, and I don't drive. I have
Yeah.
no license, never
Oh,
had
oh,
license in
my
my life.
metro station's like 3 blocks away. I'm good.
But that's what a lot of people started doing too. Lizzie, I don't know if you saw in New York, they were talking about how a lot of people were fleeing, the overpriced places in the city and moving into the suburbs of Jersey post COVID. So yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
Tasha, we're moving back. See, I lived in New York for 21 years, and I purposely didn't buy when I had the money in New York because you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for a box. Like
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
lived in a
Yeah.
before I moved back down here, and I just couldn't justify that. At least here, even with my rental here, I have a lot of room,
Yeah.
so that's a plus for me.
All right. So we do have a large contingent in Canada, thanks to Rob B. But some of these questions are coming from Canada. In Ontario, it's a
Oh.
seller's market. Homes are going for 30% above asking price. Everyone thought
Ooh.
that the pandemic would cause a downturn in the market, but that has not been the case.
That
Actually,
is
I was
correct.
thinking the same thing here. Cherry Brain Priest said, looking for a new place recently, southwestern Ontario, Canada, and the price tag on places rural even more than I already am paying, I think it says, have exploded. And we have put a pause on our efforts now unless I have millions to spend for property. So yeah, I mean, even the house that we were selling sold for way more than we expected to get for it.
And look at the difference in the time frame from when we first listed. We could see a significant increase in value over what, a 6 to 9 month period, right,
Yeah,
Antonio?
yeah, yeah. It was a big difference. Um,
Yeah.
let's see, Mike Winter. She knows all about some of these programs from someone who's been doing real estate finance for almost 20 years. Mike Winter says a mini. Jacqueline Robinson says, let's see, amenities, amenities, amenities. That's the difference for the price difference. Okay, so let's move on to Robbie Rock. Any questions? We're running out of time, by the way,
Well,
so go ahead.
yeah, I actually, this is really not in the real estate vein of things. Just when you were talking about the Make a Wish work that you do, that really struck a chord with me. And so I'm I'm very curious. You know, what do you do? What's the most fulfilling aspect of the work that you do for Make a Wish?
Oh man, don't have Rob B. Please don't have me in here crying. So I literally
It's a good try.
I literally just got accepted as a Make a Wish granter. So if anybody's not familiar with this organization, Make a Wish is it's actually a national organization, and their focus is granting wishes, very specific wishes to critically ill children. And um, we were recipient of Make a Wish. My daughter had brain cancer when she was 4, and when she was about 8 years old, and she recovered from her treatment, we were granted a Make a Wish, and they sent our entire family to Disney World and a village called Give Kids the World, and it was one of the most amazing experiences that my
Mhm.
family's had, and it really kind of offset all of the kind of trauma that we had to endure during her cancer treatment. So it's an organization that's very near and dear to me. Robbie, I'm so looking forward to having my first wish kid. I'm going to go all out, and I'm a
Bet.
little
I could
nervous
I could
because
imagine.
kids. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm a little nervous because in a lot of cases, the kids pass away like after the wish is granted. So honestly, I don't know how I'm going to handle that. But
Mm.
I'm so passionate about anything related to childhood cancer, and I'm so glad you brought that up. And it's such a great organization, and I love to shine a light on them any opportunity I get. So thank you for bringing that up. That made me really happy.
Good
Oh,
question, Robbie. All right, Gianni Storm.
that's
Top
hard to
that,
follow,
Gianni.
but
Top that.
I know. Well, I just want to say congratulations that your daughter is healed. It's
Thank
very admirable that you're taking your time to be a wish founder. That's
you.
beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Sorry. I wanted to know, for me personally, this is something I've always wanted to do. Do you think it's a good idea to get a fixer upper home and make it into your dream home or make it into something?
Great question.
Um, I think so. It depends on who you are and what your goals are. The one thing I'll tell you here when it comes to properties that are fixer uppers, we have a pretty large pool of investors and flippers. So, again, in this particular market, it's about acquiring the property. However,
Yeah.
if you have the means to purchase a fixer upper, I think it's a beautiful thing. You do have to ask yourself some questions. Do you honestly have the time, resources, and energy to commit to fixing the property up and making it your own? But
It's always a
I
challenge.
think, yeah, I think it's a glorious thing. It's a transformation, right? And most people love a good transformation, and you really fall in love with a property when you fix it up, or if you build
Yeah.
a home completely from scratch. I find that there's a deeper attachment to properties that you fix up or buy brand new. Absolutely. I think if you can, absolutely.
I'll be honest, I've
And
done both. Go ahead, Lindsay.
and
What
how
did
did you
you
go
prefer,
about that?
Leo?
So I've done both. I did a fixer upper and it wasn't a big fix, not a huge fixer upper, but there were some things I needed to change. Like I did bathrooms, I did kitchen, I did a bunch of things, flooring throughout, and it is very time consuming.
Yeah.
I mean, I got started with the project and I was like, okay, I can do this, I can do this. And then you start to hit snags, and then, you know, work gets in the way, and then other things get in the way, and you start to see the project sitting down waiting, and you're like, okay, I got to get back to that. And then it can be very time consuming, especially if you're doing
HGTV
the
makes
work
it look
yourself.
easy.
Do not
HGTV tells you you could do it in 30.
No, that is not reality.
I watch House Hunters, and every time, they always have these couples. One wants a move-in ready, a turnkey place. The other wants a fixer-upper. And it's always this back and forth. And to me, every time someone says fixer-upper, it's like kryptonite. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I want to move my and sit down.
I'll
So
admit
yeah,
to
so,
being
but
to loving what I did with the home.
mhm,
You know, I did once it was done. Once it was done, it was great. I mean, even the thing, you know, even in the home I did now, which was move-in ready, we've done some fixing, and you know, I love all the improve. Every time we make an improvement, it's a great thing. We love it. So it does make the home more yours, which is great.
it does.
Yeah.
But at the
But
same
it sounds like
time,
you have some regrets. It sounds like you almost changed your mind midway, but you couldn't. You had to keep going, right?
yeah, it's like yes, I just I've
Yeah,
come to the conclusion I don't
commitment.
like projects anymore, so I'm good. I'm
You
good. No
have to
more
be
fixer uppers
committed.
for me.
Yeah,
those
you
Yeah.
know
fixer
yourself, Johnny. Yeah, you have to be committed. You have to
Okay.
know yourself and know if that's going to overwhelm you. Because I know me, like I moved into this house in 2006, and I had all these plans, and we were fixing up the basement. The basement's still unfinished. Okay, so you have to know who you are and know your level of commitment, and if that's fun. And don't go off HGTV. I'll tell you a secret. Realtors hate HGTV. Like I
It's
throw
not
stuff at the
realistic.
TV. I don't
Okay.
watch that. It's garbage.
It's
It's
Okay.
not realistic.
unrealistic.
Okay. It's fake.
It's not
It's like
fake.
reality
It's just
TV.
unrealistic in the sense that it's
it's
not as easy
entertainment.
as it looks.
It's entertainment.
It's,
It's
Yeah.
glossed up.
Yeah.
It's glossed up.
Yeah. All right.
and
Deborah.
also, I think a lot of it, when you just said fake, I think some of it is fake because some of these properties I look at, I'm like, you mean to tell me you chose that jalopy of a house for all that money? Come on.
Jalopy.
Yeah.
That's a new
Yeah,
word.
It's
jalopy.
questionable. It's questionable for
I think I've
sure.
heard you use that word before.
Yeah.
All right. One question. This will be the last question. So, in the Black community, often we don't teach nor set credit or generational wealth for our children. Uh, can you tell? This is from Olivia E. By the way. Can you tell us some tips for average people to set up or teach these things? Like, can we open credit cards in their names, add names, real estate, to add names, our children's names to the real estate, etc. Things that we can do to set up generational wealth. And
Hmm.
you know, yeah. So answer that as best you can, but you know, we'd love to have you back to go in more detail about stuff like that.
Okay, absolutely. Uh oh, hang on. My computer just did something weird.
Okay.
Uh oh. Can you see me?
Nope.
Yeah, we still
Yeah.
have you.
Oh, we
Uh
can
oh.
see
We
you.
still
You're
have you.
visibly
So
there, but it's hard to see you.
I thought you
I
were going to
think
say,
Neo said no.
Oh, yeah, that's much
all
better.
right.
Much better.
So
yeah.
I would say it starts with my charger just did something weird.
Oh
I
yeah,
would
you know,
say it
it's getting there.
starts with the conversations that we have, right? One thing that I'll tell you, like we have our oldest are 18-year-old twins, so we're starting to really have conversations. And if I were to think about it, we would have done it a little bit earlier about here's some of the household bills, or when you're throwing away this or throwing away that, I'll show them a receipt. This is what the grocery bill is this week. So I think it's important that we just start to talk about wealth and wealth building. Start to really another thing that we also do is we actually have a wealth plan, right? We start to think about saving, right? We talk to our kids about credit. to me, it really starts about the conversations that you have in your household. Start to talk early, right? Talk about credit. I'll tell my kids all the time. When I got out of college, I didn't have a car, but I had 3 or 4 gas credit cards, right? So no one taught me about that. So it's
Yeah.
just having those conversations about why credit's important, right? How hard it is to rebuild when you're out of college with no job or a low paying job,
Mhm.
right? So it starts to me with just having those conversations, and then, modeling what you want them to do, right? So we talk about, it took me a long time to talk about budgeting, but now we have a budget, right? So these are things that we talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really
Yeah,
important because that's one of the things that
agree.
I know growing up, I had no idea about the benefits of credit, debt. I had no idea about building wealth, investing, none of that. My family didn't talk to me about that, but in other people's homes, that's the daily conversation. You talk about, how much money, how's your business going? Are you trying to, that stuff goes on at the dinner table in other, communities. But my
Yeah,
home, nothing like that. But it wasn't my parents' fault because not only did their parents not do that, but they didn't know. The knowledge
they
just
didn't.
wasn't there. So, I
Right.
mean, we couldn't have those conversations because there wasn't any knowledge in the family. So,
Right. One
or
thing
the
I'll
community.
recommend, yeah, and in the community as well. One thing I'll recommend, they're going to be, my 18-year-old is going to be really upset with me, but in my Amazon cart, it's the book Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Yeah,
right? It starts with education.
Mhm.
Get the
I've
book
read it.
Rich Dad Poor Dad, give it to the young people in your world. If you haven't read it, get it yourself.
Hmm.
um, give it to the young people in your world. Like I'm pretty sure I read that at 19 or 20 years old, and it started to shape um, just how I thought about business and money. So it's literally just a matter of, and honestly, there are other cultures that they talk about wealth. They learn about wealth strategies. They learn about tax sheltering legally, right? They learn about retirement. So having the conversations and educating themselves, and there's tons of amazing things out here, and I do have clients that are in programs like Dave Ramsey, and I'm seeing a lot of buyers do 15-year mortgages versus 30 years. So it's just a matter of having those conversations and educating yourself. So make sure to get that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, great book. Great book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, that is all the time we have, but I do want to give you a minute just to close out, say any final words, and then, of course, tell people where they can find you, where they can find more information, where they can get in touch with you. I'm going to leave the floor to you.
All right. So one thing I'll say is, one thing I want to touch on is at the end of 2020, there were almost 3 million Americans who had their mortgages in forbearance. So, that's another thing that we really need to focus on and talk about. I'm a little, I won't say worried, but concerned about what's going to happen once the eviction and foreclosure moratoriums end. There's still, you know, we're in an area where we're really fortunate, Robbie, and I'm pretty sure it's probably the same thing. Most people are doing well here in the DC area, but there's some people that aren't. So just lean on anybody in your world. Check in on people to make sure they're doing okay emotionally,
Yeah.
financially. So, that's just one thing that's kind of always on my mind. We expect a slew of maybe foreclosures and short sales within the next few years. And I'm hoping people won't be too embarrassed to reach out for help. You can find me on Instagram, Tasha Realtor, Facebook, Tasha to buy, sell, number two, buy, sell, or rent.com. And, you want to email me, Latasha, Latasha at kw.com. I'm always available for questions, insight, consultations. I love real estate. I
Awesome.
love helping people build wealth for their families.
Yeah, and let me tell you again, great real estate agent. So, thank you again, Tasha, for joining us. And again, we're going to try to get you back, see if we can, maybe we can make this a regular thing. See what we can do.
That'd be cool.
Mm.
And when I come
Awesome.
back, we'll talk about some celebrity
Yeah.
real estate. I love.
Oh, there we
Um,
go. I love that. I love
Ooh,
that.
yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
thank you
Thank
guys.
you, Tasha.
All right. Great guest there. Great guest.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, that was
A lot of good tips, a lot of good things to think about for both people who are still looking, to buy, first time buyers, but also people who want to expand, in their real estate. So good advice. Good
I think
advice.
that was the I think that was the surprising part for me because I know that real estate it really didn't let up, but I hadn't really thought of that. If someone's living in a home and now the living conditions have changed, when you have everyone in your family working, learning within the household, yeah, it's not just a hub for eating and sleeping anymore.
Mm,
This is a home base. So if
business.
you're not
Yeah.
equipped
I
for
mean,
it,
yeah, you're
then you're
working.
stepping on each other's toes. Yeah.
Yeah, you're working.
yeah.
It's your school now. Yeah, it's everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Kennel. All right.
Right?
Let's move on to our hot topic.
Truth.